Hello and welcome back. Today we will be recapping the second book in Jasmine Mass's Psycho Alphas series. This book is called Psycho Fae. Just wanted to thank everybody for all of the love on my last video. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy this video just as much. Alright, let's go ahead and get into it. A very short recap on what happened at the end of book 1. Sadie, Jax, Cobra, and Aaron have all been betrayed by Asher and a kitten. Although, to be fair, the kitten made no promises not to betray them. That kitten is actually an Omega named Xerxes, who has purple eyes because, I don't know, nobody in the series can have normal eye colors. Whatever. I didn't write it, don't ask me. Xerxes, our purple-eyed Omega, is actually in league with the Fae Queen, who is Aaron's mother. Aaron, who's actually Arabella, has been disguising herself as a man to try and get away from her absolutely psychotic mother, who I don't think she ever actually has a name. They just call her the Fae Queen. Like, throughout all 6 books. I don't think we give that woman a name, but whatever. That was the end of book 1. Now to get into book 2. Our prologue opens up with Jax's POV, which actually takes place like 6 years before the events in the first book. In the last video, I might have mentioned that Jax has 4 sisters. I don't know if I mentioned it, and I'm not scrolling through that whole video to double check. So he's got 4 sisters. In this prologue, he's going back home to check on his mother and his sisters. Okay, I have conflicting information here. So I've written down that he has 4 sisters, but then in the very next line it says I have 5 names written down: Jess, Jen, Jan, Jala, and Jinx. Whoever decided that we all needed to have J names is just sick in the head, and it's Jasmine Mass. Jasmine Mass is sick in the head, which we knew, having read the first book. I really won't be getting into generally anything about Jax's sisters except that he has them. In future books, Jinx is really the only one that has any impact on the story, but that doesn't happen until book 4 or 5, so we're not getting into it today. The only other truly interesting thing that we learn from the prologue that's in Jax's POV is that his sisters got adopted because a man in a cloak dropped them off one day at his mom's house, and his mom was just like, okay, sure. If you recall, Sadie got yoinked by a man in a cloak who took her to the sacred lake to be like tested or whatever. We're just going to go under the assumption that this is the same cloaked guy, because how many people in cloaks can there really be in this story going around snatching children? Okay, buckle in. It's time for chapter 1. Sadie is getting her little bitty booty handed to her by the Fae Queen, both like verbally and physically. I speak of her booty because it is out. She's naked. Very naked. Scars out, tatas out, coochie out. Is just all out. And she's strapped to a bed having a conversation with the Fae Queen, who's basically a huge bitch. The queen is also like surrounded by servants who are also there in the room with her and Sadie, seemingly for absolutely no purpose whatsoever. As I mentioned, our Fae Queen is kind of a nasty little bitch. One thing I don't think I covered really at all in the last video about the first book was that Cobra is kind of obsessed with like strength and perfection, and our lovely Sadie has thought on multiple occasions that Cobra would be absolutely disgusted by the scars all over her like chest and back. The lovely Fae Queen says this to her: does Cobra know how brutalized your skin is? How ugly you are? Excuse me, bitch? Excuse me? If you recall, or don't, if I mentioned it in the first video, whatever, it doesn't matter. Cobra was held prisoner for like 50 years of his life in the Fae realm by the Fae Queen. So she is intimately acquainted with Cobra, if you catch my drift. And that acquaintanceship was not necessarily always consensual on Cobra's part. During this lovely little conversation between Sadie and the Fae Queen, Sadie brings up Aaron, or Arabella, who I will simply be referring to as Aaron because that's how Sadie refers to her. So Sadie asks, like, what's going on with Aaron, pretty much. And the Fae Queen says, it's Arabella. And since she's my daughter, I will do whatever I want with her. Something to keep in mind for later, because it comes back. For purposes of like storyline and plot, what you need to know about this conversation, and I guess the Fae in general, is that there are different kinds of Fae. Some of them have elemental powers, and those powers are related to the 4 different elements: earth, water, air, and fire. Just guess which one our lovely Fae Queen can control. It's fire. If anybody remembers from the first video in book 1, John, the beta that tried to kidnap Sadie and like drug her, whatever, through the woods naked, he died being like engulfed in blue flames. The Queen's flames are blue, and she's the only Fae that has blue flames. She, the Queen, uses these blue flames on Sadie. So the thing about the Queen's power is that the flames burn like fire, but they do not leave like any marks or any burns. So she could fuck you up all day, every day, forever, and you would not die because you're not sustaining any burns. Now, the psychological damage that it would do, absolutely wild. Surely that's the sort of psychological trauma that sticks with you. Anywho, she tortures Sadie a little bit with these flames, and Sadie describes them as, the flames didn't burn like fire. It felt like 1,000 needles stabbed into my skin and ripped the flesh off my bones. So yeah, not a good time. Oh, yeah, also, the alphas can't shift in this realm. It's never really explained like why or how, but the Fae Queen says like, I done did that, I did all that, and you can only shift when I let you, when I allow it. And we'll come in later for the plot, but we'll get to that. So another big revelation that comes from this conversation between the Queen and Sadie is that Cobra has been, I think the word that she uses is an entertainer in the Fae realm before, and he's been gone for some time and now he's back, and so she's put him back into that role. And by entertainer, what she means is, I'm genuinely trying to word this so YouTube doesn't just slap this video down, a person who is forced to have sex without their consent with whomever the Queen decides, whether it's because they pay her or she owes them something and like that's what they want from her. But that's basically the life that Cobra lived before going to the shifter realm, or the realm that he and Sadie and Jax are all from. So anyway, Cobra, not only has he had to endure this life, he had to endure it for 50 years. It was all broadcast because the Fae are kind of a fucked up race. They watched this man be forced into relations with people against his will, and that was entertainment for them. So, given that it is the typical Fae entertainment, guess what happens with Sadie? I'll give you 5 seconds to put it in the comments below. Place your bets. No, I'm kidding. So, the Fae Queen has this plan to force Sadie and Cobra together for the realm's entertainment. And also she thinks she's like punishing Cobra because she thinks Cobra is going to be disgusted by the way that Sadie looks. She does not understand that he is like absolutely obsessed with her at this point in his own weird, like, fucked up, absolutely not okay way. In the next chapter, we get Cobra's POV and we find out that he has only been away from the Fae realm for like 6 years. And now he's being forced right back into it after just this like tiny reprieve. It's actually absolutely sad. While in his POV, we do get that like confirmation that he is now holding Jax and Sadie in like the same regard, meaning that he views both of them as I wish there was a different way to put this, but it's how Cobra himself puts it. He possesses them. They are his possessions. They belong to him, both Sadie and Jax. He's also hella pissed off at Asher and the kitty cat, aka Xerxes. Cobra also tells us that the only way that a fae queen can be brought down is if another fae rips out her heart and eats it. And I swear to God, I'm not making this up. And then that person who consumes her heart will automatically ascend to the throne. Again, lock it down. Keep it up there. It comes back later on. In Cobra's POV, he is seeing Sadie naked in front of the queen, right? Or is she like in the room with him? I've written shit notes. I'm sorry, guys. Give me a second. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Cobra sees the scars all over Sadie, and this is what he thinks. This is in his POV. Since Sadie was an alpha, that meant some dead fucker had brutally beaten her as a child. I imagine that fucker had marred her golden skin so brutally. They wouldn't die. Oh, fuck no. They would bleed for all eternity. I'm gonna have to put so many bleeps in this. So yeah, Cobra is very protective of Sadie now that he's come to terms with his emotions, his feelings for her. What's happening with my hair here? Hold on. Okay, I don't know if that's better, but I cannot touch my hair anymore. I'm done. This is what it looks like for the rest of the video. I'm done. I'm done. Like I mentioned, Cobra is now like psychotically protective and possessive of Sadie. So much so that the fae guards that like bring her into the room with him, he kills them because they touched her. This is not an exaggeration by any means whatsoever. There's blood on him and Sadie, I'm pretty sure, because she's right there when it happens. Like Cobra, if we're trying to protect her, maybe let's not traumatize her further. Whatever. So Cobra and Sadie are in the room together. Oh yeah, they're butt naked, the both of them. And the queen basically tells them like, okay, get to it, do the oh, yeah, and it's going to be recorded and broadcast to the entire realm. So Sadie is like, what happened in the closet at the party, like hours before, was a mistake, but I'll still have sex with you. Because I don't know. These people just have weird motives. Anyway, Cobra says, I own you. You're mine now. Anyone who touches you dies. Sadie highly disagrees with this. But still, she's like, okay, I'm down to have sex. This broadcasted in front of the entire realm. Cobra, however, does not agree with this. And he like knocks her ass out while she's like mid-rant, so that they don't have to do it on TV. Isn't this broadcasted to like an entire realm full of people? Which honestly, probably like the kindest thing Cobra has done in the series thus far. After Cobra knocks out Sadie, the queen is like hella pissed off and she doesn't know how to emotionally regulate herself. So she decides to throw all of the alphas, Sadie, Jax, and Cobra. Sadie, Jax, and Cobra. Yeah, those are the right ones. Sadie, Jax, and Cobra. Into something called the Fae Games, which Cobra says, where's my quote? He describes it as making the human gladiator coliseum look like a kid's playground. Sure is bloody and violent. So anyway, Sadie is like dragged out of the room and thrown into like the dungeons. At least she's given like, I don't know, like a potato sack for a dress, so she's not, you know, coochie lips in the wind anymore. But now she's in a dungeon filled with dirt and poop, and oh yeah, Jax is also there. Jax sees Sadie and like immediately like pulls her in and like protects her, even though he's like chained to the wall, and she has like a bruise on her cheek from one of the guards being like a dick because she popped off with some like, you know, sarcastic comment, and Jax was like, who did this to you? Like the ultimate smut line, who did this to you? And when she tells him which guard, Jax beats the guard to death, because the men in this world only know how to express their feelings through violence, apparently, So genuinely unhealthy, everybody in this book needs a therapist right now. Sadie kind of gives Jax a rundown of like what happened. Cobra knocked me out so he didn't have to have sex with me. The entire realm saw all of my scars, and oh yeah, Cobra's a sex slave, which apparently he never told Jax about. He just kind of said like, yeah, I had a shit life in the Fae realm. I don't like it, but never really gave him any details. So Jax is now pissed off because he's protective of Sadie and she's hurt, and he's protective of Cobra, and he's been brutalized for years by these people. So Cobra, the man himself, shortly after like Sadie gets taken down to the dungeon, Cobra gets thrown down there, and he has been beaten to shit, like bruises everywhere. And Sadie like tries to go to him and comfort him, and what does he do? Complains that Sadie never told him about her scars.
He's like, why didn't you tell me?
Maybe because you're a shit communicator, and you would have tried to kill somebody had I told you. You psychotic man. Anyway, more importantly than Cobra's intense psychological issues, we learned that the Fae Queen, we learn why the Fae Queen has been kidnapping alphas, which like is such a small part of the first book. I kind of forgot that it was like a thing. But yes, those like giant little spider creatures, the queen like controlled them somehow. We forget about the spiders because they're never mentioned in any of the 5 other books. How she controls them, we don't know. Whatever, doesn't matter. Anyway, the queen has been kidnapping alphas because, and I quote, "The Shifter realm is where the beast realm sent all of its prisoners centuries ago. Rumor has it they've abandoned the pack system and stopped birthing ABOs, alphas, betas, and omegas. Their population is growing weak, so they've started kidnapping alphas." Okay, so some clarification, because I didn't understand this the first time I read it. Where our ragtag team is from is a place that they refer to as the Shifter realm, but most other people refer to as the Relecta realm, if they even know about it. And this Relecta realm is where prisoners were sent to. And I guess these prisoners there were so many of them that they started breeding and created their own world. I don't know, whatever. The Shifters are actually beasts to everybody else and are likely from the beast realm. I'm gonna bring this up a little bit preemptively because it absolutely makes zero fucking sense. Asher was on a mission by the Fae Queen to bring alphas back so that they could be returned to their families in the beast realm. Why their families are in the beast realm, if the Shifter realm or the Relecta realm is where prisoners were sent to, and theoretically those prisoners have just been breeding and like living their lives, why these alphas' parents would be in the beast realm and not in the Shifter/Relecta realm, I think we're just going to have to call that what it is, a plot hole. It's not a huge part of the story, so it doesn't really matter, but I just am who I am, so I have to point it out. Our ragtag team, Jax, Cobra, Sadie, while they're in this dungeon, they see this man who's like looking rough. To be fair, all of the prisoners are looking real rough. They're all sitting in like dirt and poo. We're not going to spend much time on this dungeon, but it's fucking nasty. Anyway, they find a prisoner down there, they meet a prisoner down there who says that he is with the High Court and the Fae Queen has been doing some bad things. So he tells the alphas, hey, if you ever get out of here, this is my name and like my information. Tell the High Court I've been captured and thrown in the dungeon. The High Court is like the powers that be. I think we can kind of think of them as like an oligarchy. They are the most powerful people and they are in charge of all of the realms. In a very brief chapter in Asher's POV, we see that he has been working for the Fae Queen because of his father. His father's like, I don't know, some like crime lord or something like that. He has not been captured by the Fae Queen. He's not in the dungeons. He's like working for her. The queen with her little spider people apparently were only able to capture like weaker alphas So the queen hired Asher's father to help her kidnap alphas and send them back to the beast realm. I'm gonna need to like draw a map or something for all of this bullshit. Anyway, Asher is pissed off. We find out in his POV this is absolutely not what was supposed to happen. He was supposed to help these alphas get back to their families. I've already explained why that's weird, but get back to their families and be sent back to the beast realm. So he's like, they should not be prisoners right now. Why the fuck are you doing this? The fake queen is kind of psychotic though, if you couldn't tell with the minimal information that we have about her. So Asher, when he finds out that the queen has volunteered his 3 alphas for the Fae games, which are like human gladiator level violence, just with like magic powers involved, he is pissed, but he knows better than to try and like fight with her. So he's just like, throw me in there.
Throw me in the ring, boss.
Xerxes, the kitten Omega who was like tricking Sadie and I guess the rest of the alphas and helped Asher kidnap everybody and bring him back to the Fae realm, he insists on watching over the alphas. From Asher's POV, we don't really understand the motives behind this, but later on we discover that Xerxes does not trust alphas. Xerxes does not trust alphas. Xerxes doesn't trust alphas. Why does that sentence feel so weird? I don't know. Xerxes is gonna like watch over them. He's not going to participate in the games like Asher will, but he'll basically be like their not really bodyguard, but like prison guard, like watching over them while they're a part of the game. So they don't, I think he says so they don't cheat. I genuinely can't think of a way that they would be able to cheat in these games, but whatever. All of them is gonna be together. So we've got 5 people who are our main group. Sadie, Jax, Cobra, Asher, and now Xerxes. 4 alphas and an omega. And Xerxes is like the queen's attack dog, pretty much. I mean, he's like an assassin. And he has these like sick ass like knives, these like 2 like knives that are like, he like always wears them, and it's like kind of fucking hot when he like pulls them out. So he's kind of atypical for an omega in the omegaverse, but neither here nor there. So with Asher and Xerxes with them, Sadie, Jax, and Cobra get walked from the dungeon outside into a carriage that will take them to the games. And we get our first look at the Fae realm. It apparently is absolutely gorgeous. It's like an eternal summer, so there's like palm trees and flowers. There are 2 suns in the sky, and the Fae castle is like beautiful and like gold, and there's like waterfalls and like pretty shit, and it's basically like the polar opposite of the Shifter / Relecta realm, which is eternally in winter and like very harsh and cold. It's like the Bahamas. It's beautiful and warm there. My hair is doing something weird again. Our ragtag team of 5 people get shoved into like this chariot, which doesn't really fit all of them, and they're all like pressed up against each other, and what else happens but an actual physical altercation and arguing. Just healthy coping mechanisms from all of these people that they genuinely must have learned from frat dudes. So in this arena, they are pretty much immediately brought there. They're allowed to like shower and like put on actual clothes, but then they're immediately taken to the first portion, the first competition of the Fae games. And this is just part 1. There are going to be a total of 3 parts, portions, competitions, I don't know. The words that I will use for it absolutely are going to be interchanged. Sorry, not sorry. So they get to this arena, and it is like very gladiator-esque. There's like sand, and like it's huge coliseum thing, and surrounded like full of fays and the crowd cheering. And Sadie sees up in like one of the fancy VIP booth areas, whatever, is the queen and her daughter, Arabella. We learn that Arabella, who I will refer to as Aaron from literally here on out, ran away from home at the age of 16 because her mother was going to marry her off to some random Fae dude for political reasons, because Aaron doesn't have any Fae powers. You know those elements, the 4 element? Yeah. She doesn't have any of those powers, and for that she is considered very weak. The only way the Fae Queen can use that to her advantage is, you know, via a marriage, which is what Aaron basically ran away from, as an arranged political marriage for her mother's sake. The queen asks Aaron to, like, give a little speech of, like, my daughter has returned, and Aaron is, like, hella pissed, and she kind of, in, like, a really underhanded way, gives this speech to the crowd, kind of implying that she wants somebody to, like, take the queen's head off. So Sadie, who's watching all of this, is like, oh, okay, Erin's still my girl, she's still on my side, we're still friends, that's my fucking bestie, I don't care what gender she is. Okay, so to get to the first portion of the games, the team is brought onto these, like, platforms that raise themselves into the air, I'm guessing, so everybody in the arena can get, like, a better look at what's going on. So yeah, they're all, like, raised up onto these platforms, and there are 3 different groups made up of the different Fae elements, and then one final group made up of something called half warriors. These half warriors are mentioned incredibly briefly at the beginning of the book, but basically what they are is half Fae and half alpha. With half beings, they only have the powers of one of their parents, so these half warriors are half Fae, half alpha, but they only have alpha powers, so they're all alphas, and they shift. 2 of them shift into tigers, and 1 of them shifts into a dragon. Okay, those are the teams. Now, as I have pretended to get into like 4 times now, what the actual competition is. Each group, and there are 5 of them, for this first round, this first match, competition, whatever, each group will select 1 member from their group and 1 member from another group to go on a head-to-head battle. The half warriors, half alpha, half Fae people, we're calling them half warriors from here on out, but that's what the halfsies are. They apparently have been champions of the games for over 100 years. I think I mentioned in the first book, everybody is like hella old. Lifespans are like hella extended. Jax is like 150 years old, but they all look like they're in like their 20s or early 30s. Oh my jeez. Anyway, so yes, the half warriors get first pick of who they want to go one-on-one with. So their head person, Dimitri, selects Sadie to go one-on-one with. To go head-to-head. Like a physical fisticuffs fight. And for this first competition, Sadie is not allowed to shift. The half warriors also aren't permitted to shift, but Sadie, our tiny little scrawny Sadie, is going up against like this huge person, and he's the one that turns into a dragon. Did I mention that? Yeah, he turns into a fucking dragon, and they're gonna have a fist fight. So Sadie clicks on the numb, which is, brief recap, this homicidal voice that she can turn on in her head, but when she turns it on, it needs to like recharge, so it takes a couple of days before, like in between the uses. So she clicks on the numb, this homicidal, like, fighting voice in her head that tells her what to do, and starts fight. The platform that they're on, like, breaks apart into multiple different pieces, and they start, like, moving all around, like, up and down in the air. Sadie and Dimitri are, like, going at it. They're, like, jumping from platform to platform, like, trading blows. Sadie's, like, holding her own very well. She's, like, getting in nearly as many hits as Dimitri is. It feels weird, but whatever. She's like getting hits in, and she's, you know, blocking and like evading. Like she got hit a couple of times, but she's holding her own because of the numb, until she gets distracted because Dimitri smiles at her. She says, "For a second, a smile flashed across Dimitri's face. I stumbled mid-step in surprise as his pink eyes danced." Why does he have pink eyes? Whatever. His energy was volatile, but it wasn't malicious. How you can tell that from somebody smiling at you while they're trying to beat the fucking shit out of you, I don't know, but whatever. Because of this, Dimitri catches onto her. Sadie's not fast enough to get away, and he holds her. Like, he, like, slams her down and then picks her up by her throat and is, like, holding her up. Basically about to, like, toss her ass off the side. So, what she does is she takes that little snake that's living on her body from Cobra, and she tells it to jump from her to Dimitri and to bite him. The snake's venom, I guess, like, immediately immobilizes him, and so they both start going crashing to the ground, which, as a reminder, they are up on platforms. So it's going to be a steep drop down to the bottom. So they're falling, and suddenly somebody crashes into Sadie. And who is it? Asher. He has thrown himself off of another platform to catch Sadie and, like, shift them in midair, which, like, I don't know that physics are playing a part in this universe, but whatever. He, like, shifts them in midair and takes the brunt of the fall for Sadie. So they're both hella fucked up. Sadie is basically, like, out cold after this. From somebody else's POV, I think it's Jack's, we see that Aaron has run down to help the alphas take Sadie to, like, the medical unit so her bitch ass doesn't die. And then they leave Asher, like, there on the ground. Sadie wakes up after all of this, after being in a coma for, like, 3 days. She wakes up in the hospital. She sees Aaron. They have, like, a super fun conversation where Aaron tells her, like, hey, yeah, my mom used to light me on fire every night of my childhood, and that's part of the reason why I left home. Okay, trauma dumper. The trauma these people have to endure is absolutely ridiculous. During this super fun trauma dump between Aaron and Sadie, Aaron lets Sadie know that the reason she was in the what was that place called? The portal thing, whatever. Aaron was able to disguise herself as a beta because a man in a cloak showed up one day and helped her get it done. The same cloak man who yoinked Sadie and, you know, like the little Jack's sisters from the beginning. Yeah, same cloak guy. Do not get invested in knowing any fucking thing about the cloak guy, because I've read almost all of the books and there's practically no explanation. So he's just a weird presence. Accept it. The biggest piece of story plotline that happens during this conversation is that Sadie tells Aaron about Dick, who is the man who brutalized her whole fucking childhood. And Sadie basically asks, like, hey, can you kill him or bring him to me so I can kill him? And Aaron, being just as psychologically sound as Sadie, is like, yeah, I'll do that for you, babe. Sadie and Aaron then leave the medical center or wherever the fuck they are, and Sadie has, like, a little mini reunion with her alphas. Asher is, like, really weird and stoic. Cobra yells at her for getting herself hurt, like she had any fucking choice in it. And then Jax just, like, picks her up and starts carrying her around, which, like, yeah, okay. A line from Sadie about Cobra: he was still the gorgeous snake man who was quick to sneer and be obnoxious, but he was also different. It was almost like he cared about me, but had zero clue how to show his affections like a normal person. I think what Sadie needs to understand is she is also not a normal fucking person. None of these people behave like normal fucking people. I will say, though, Cobra's got more issues than most. Given his history, like, I guess we'll go ahead and give it to him, but, like, my god, dude. Okay, so Sadie. She lived. I lived, bitch. And we find out that they're all going to be forced to live underneath the stadium during the entire time they're in the game. So, you know, at least they're not in the fucking dungeon, but they're being forced to live in the same area as all of the people who are trying to, like, kill them in these games. So the rest of the, I don't know, contestants, tributes, whatever the fuck they are, yeah, they all get to live together. There is this hilarious interaction after the first competition between Sadie and this child of a fae man who is pissed at Sadie for being in the competition that she did not ask to be in because she's a woman. She's, like, sitting down, like, waiting to get food from the alphas. They're, like, you know, taking care of her and stuff. And fae man walks up and is all like, you shouldn't be here. And Sadie's like, I cannot deal with your toxic fucking bullshit. I know you hate me. Take a number and get in fucking line. And he, like, doesn't know what to do with that. And so he, like, sputters out a response of, like, women shouldn't be in battle. And her response is like, yep, totally agree. Leave me alone. That whole thing, every time I read it, is just absolutely hilarious because she can't even be bothered by his toxic masculine bullshit. But he does come back a little bit later on. Fae man who doesn't approve of women being in this Fae Games bullshit. Xerxes sees this interaction because, again, he's like their watcher. Like, he literally is just like watching over them because plotline wise, I understand Asher being there because, spoiler, he's going to be a part of the ragtag team. But he's meant to be there, like, watching them to make sure they're not gonna, like, cheat or get in trouble or anything. But they're literally stuck under a fucking stadium in a realm that they cannot get out of. He doesn't need to be there. It's fine. Whatever. He's cute. I like him. He can stay. So yes, Xerxes sees this interaction between Sadie and the shitty Fae man. And he basically asks Sadie, like, why didn't you, like, kick that guy's ass for talking shit to you? And Sadie's response is basically like, most of the time I don't even fucking feel like an alpha, so why should I act like one? And Xerxes is, like, absolutely thrown off because his whole thing is he hates alphas. He doesn't trust them. He thinks all alphas are, like, violent and overbearing. And Sadie is different. Of course. So we're laying the groundwork there for things between Sadie and Xerxes. If you picking up what I'm putting down. Okay. All right. Picture this. It's 3 a.m. You are reading your smut book in the dark. They get to the inn and there's only one bed. Everybody knows this trope, and Sadie and her little ragtag team, that's exactly what fucking happens. They get to the room where they're staying for the 5 of them, and there are only 4 beds. So that means somebody is gonna have to double up. So during the situation, like, all of the alphas are, like, arguing, like, I should sleep on the floor. I should sleep on the floor. So to resolve this, Sadie, like, grabs Jax and is like, you're sleeping with me. Everybody else figure it the fuck out. So the sleeping situation is this. Jax and Sadie are sharing one bed in a room with Cobra, who has his own bed. Asher and Xerxes are in a different room and they each have their own bed. Yeah, that. Like, the sleeping situation changes a little bit later on in the book, so anyway, that's what's going on right now. Sadie, because she has been traumatized basically her entire fucking life, has a nightmare, and she wakes up in the middle of the night from the nightmare. Relatable. And she is there with Jax, who's, like, you know, shirt off, like boxers, and because he's sleeping. And what does Sadie do after waking up from a nightmare, after being in a competition that put her in a 3-day coma? She licks Jax's nipple, which is pierced, by the way. I'm turning bright red. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. Anyway, of course he wakes up. I guess, of course he wakes up. I don't know if I would wake up if somebody licked my nipple, but I don't know. I don't know if that's a sentence anybody on the earth has ever said before. Jax wakes up and, you know, they start getting into it. Jax is, like, his hand over Sadie's mouth to, like, you know, make sure that they're both quiet while they're starting extracurricular activities. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's kind of hot as shit. Like, it worked for me anyway. So they're, like, playing, touching, messing around a little bit, and they're about to do the deed when Cobra wakes up and gets, like, territorial. It's not like she's a piece of fucking property, but there's no other word to describe what he acts like, because he literally, like, tells Jax to stop touching her, and when Jax is like, you don't get a say in that, he tackles Jax from across the room, because apparently physical violence is the only way that these people can communicate. I can't. It's whatever. It's whatever. So yeah, Jax and Sadie are, like, full on, like, she's got a mouth of Jax. and they are about to go to penetration station when Jax lunges across the room and, like, tackles Jax off of Sadie. Again, just really, really healthy coping mechanisms and, like, communication going on. We just, you know, it's what we should expect from men, to be honest. This commotion brings Asher and Xerxes, like, into the room. Everybody's half naked. Like, Asher's half naked. He's not wearing a shirt. Xerxes not wearing a shirt. I'm pretty sure Sadie and Jax are both totally naked. And everybody's hot. All of this happens. And so, like, the sexy sexes, like, it doesn't happen. That's how it ends. That's how the chapter ends, with no sex. Like, what a cock block of a fucking author. Like, come on, Jasmine. Why are you doing this to me? Again, I can't remember if I mentioned this in the first video, but Sadie sucks at running, which is absolutely fucking relatable. So, part of their training for these Fae games is running, of course. So, they're doing that. Sadie sucks. She's, like, dying. And so she's, like, fallen behind the other alphas and Xerxes. And Dimitri, the alpha, the dragon, pink-eyed alpha, who fought her in the first competition, comes up to her and basically, like, kind of apologizes for what happened. And Sadie's like, bitch, you tried to fucking kill me. And Dimitri was like, actually, I was kind of trying to help you, because the water fae, the one that went up to Sadie and was like, women don't belong in the blah, 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 blah. His name is Rake, I think that's how you're meant to pronounce it. But he hates women, as do most men. I truly believe. And Dimitri says he would have killed her, even if it was against the rules, if he had been allowed to pick her as the competition, as his one-on-one fight. So Dimitri said he did what he did to save her. So Sadie's like, well, bitch, if you did it to save me, why the fuck were you beating my ass? And Dimitri's like, hey, yo, that's my bad. I wasn't expecting you to fight as well as you did. And when we started fighting and you were as good, he was triggered by something he calls the Song of the Hunt. Yet another something for you to lock up in here, because it doesn't get brought up until the end of the fucking book yet again. But that's why that happened, and we're, I guess, meant to proceed forward with the idea that Dimitri isn't awful. Even though in a couple books, some shit goes down and it just pisses me off. I almost feel like the writer couldn't decide what to do with these group of half-warriors and just... whatever, it doesn't matter. But that's what happens, and that's why Dimitri beat Sadie's ass. She triggered into him something called the Song of the Hunt, which he doesn't explain, but that's what it's called. So the alpha boys see Dimitri talking to Sadie, and of course they get all territorial again and like run over and they're like, where are you talking to her? Blah, blah, blah. Sadie is like, what the fuck were you all just talking about now? Well, what they were talking about was Sadie, in fact. The group of them, I guess Xerxes as well, they've all just decided, without Sadie, they had a conversation about this, about Sadie, without Sadie, and they all unilaterally decided that none of them were going to sleep with her until they were all out of the Fae games. And I cannot tell you how much that fucking pissed me off. Not just because I'm reading a fucking smut book, so I want some fucking smut, but also because how do you determine that that is the correct course of action of even if everybody sleeping together during the competition is the best idea? How do you think it's okay to make that decision without including Sadie in the conversation? I think I need to take a little break. I'm getting so heated. Okay, I took a very short break. I don't think I regained any of my sanity, but let's get back to it. In a very brief chapter in Xerxes' POV, we learn that he, much like fucking everybody else in this story, is so deeply traumatized that he should have a therapist just walking around with him in everyday interactions. He grew up in the beast realm. He was originally thought to be a beta, so he was trained as like a soldier. When his omega designation came to light, he basically kind of ended up being sold to an absolutely horrifically violent pack of alphas. Now, after an unknown amount of time with these alphas and kind of like suffering, he ran away. He was able to run away to the Fae realm, and he pretty much immediately got added to the Fae Queen's, I don't know, forces, brigade, battalion. I don't know what the word is, but like the people who do her dirty work for her. He basically agreed to do it and work for the Fae Queen because lesser of two evils. I don't know. Even though the Fae Queen was doing like horrible things to Cobra and I'm sure other people and just broadcasting it for the entertainment of the realm. But he's like, yeah, okay, I'll work for her. Okay, logic, sure, whatever. That's the story. That's what happened. We're moving on. In this POV of Xerxes, we also learn that the High Court basically controls every single realm. And Xerxes thinks this Relecta / Shifter realm that Sadie is from, it was like designed / implemented by the High Court. So they seem to be like the American government of this realm. Oh, I wish that was more of a joke than it was. Ugh. Xerxes also admits to liking Sadie much more than he's used to. He even admits that the other alphas with Sadie, their scents don't bother him like he's typically bothered by other alpha scents, because I think we covered it a little bit in the first video. Every person who's of importance in this story has like a very distinct scent. Jax is like chestnuts, Asher Asher is like pine and like coniferous trees, and Cobra is like, I don't know, like snow or like a blizzard or something, and then Sadie smells like cranberries. Ugh. Totally forget what Xerxes smells like, but anyway, he doesn't mind the smell of Sadie and the other alphas, which is very unlike him. He also seems to think that the scars on her back are from like battle wounds, because I guess that's just his impression of most alphas, is that they're like warriors and fighters, and so he's kind of carrying that idea in his head, but he doesn't verbalize it until like much later on in the story. So anyway, after all of this info fucking dumping, we get to round 2 of the Fae games. It's time for round 2. For this portion of the games, the alphas are allowed to shift into their beast forms, with the exception of Cobra, who's actually wearing like a collar ever since he landed in this realm that prevents him from using any of his powers. So he can't control like his little snakes, like the little jewels that are on his body, his little sneakies. He can't control those at all while he has this collar on. But all of the other alphas, Sadie, Jax, and Asher, they can all shift. What is this second competition, you ask? Allow me to tell you. It is the last competitor standing wins 100 points, which, by the way, there was no point designation in the first part of the games, but this second part of the games is like 100 points. Whatever, it doesn't fucking matter. It's basically last man standing. Now, they aren't killing each other, they're like just knocking each other unconscious. It's incredibly hard to kill alphas and Fae, I guess. So yeah, they're all knocking each other out. The last person conscious wins 100 points for their team. Immediately when the fight starts, that little fuckhead of a water fae tries to like shish kebab Sadie with like an ice water spear thing. And Sadie tries to click on the numb, and she can't. She gets absolutely nothing from it, so she is on her own. At least she's allowed to shift, so she does have like something on her side. All of the other alphas, including Cobra, who cannot shift right now, form this like semicircle around her shifted saber-tooth form and like try and protect her. And they're like, Sadie, don't go anywhere, we will protect you. Sadie's having none of this. She almost immediately like jumps out of their little protective circle and starts just like fucking people up. And she does like a generally decent job of holding her own. She immediately gets into a fight with 2 tigers, which are the half warriors shifted forms, and she takes them out. In fact, she's like playing with the unconscious body of one of the tigers for a few minutes, and she's genuinely having so much fun that she doesn't realize he's unconscious. This book is messed up, guys. This is messed up stuff. So yeah, that's what's going on. So she beats both of the tigers. As she's like turning away, she gets stabbed right through the chest by a water spear from Rake and basically like goes down. You know, she can't do anything with this giant thing in her chest. Asher runs over to her to like, I don't know, I guess make sure she's not fucking dead, and takes out the water fae, but the water fae also kind of like takes out Asher, so they're both unconscious. At this point in time, the only two people who aren't unconscious are Jax and Dimitri. Now Jax is shifted into his bear form and Dimitri is shifted into his dragon form, and they're like fighting up in the air. And Jax is like on the back of the dragon in his bear form, and they're like flying up in the air. Jax is like holding on for her dear life. So what does Jax do? While in his bear form, he rips off both of the dragon's wings, which sends them both like crashing down, taking Dimitri out, winning 100 points for Jax and their team. Sadie, once again, after the competition, wakes up unconscious in the hospital, and Aaron is there with her. Sadie is like, get me the fuck out of here, which, oh my god, totally fair. Hate hospitals as well. I see you on that, Sadie. I relate to you. If you all remember from book 1, someone named Auntie told them like a fae prophecy. Well, that happens again as they're like trying to leave the hospital. This fae doctor man like comes up and he gets taken over by this presence and starts reciting some like real weird shit. It's a fae prophecy, and I don't think it's a fucking poem. Anyway, here it is. It's so lovely. Blood burns red through the air it's blown. Blood pours bright across the fated throne. Blood draws truth and rips apart the mind. Blood creates pain, it kills the weak spined. So this is the second time somebody has been like taken over and told a fae prophecy to Aaron and Sadie. Once when they were in the shifter realm, relecta realm, whatever, and now again in the fae realm. So the two of them run the fuck out of there and get stopped by Sadie's alphas and Xerxes. Cobra sees Sadie and Aaron running out of the hospital. Sadie is like half fucking naked. She's in a hospital gown that's open in the back, so like the whole fae realm is getting a view of her little booty cheeks. And Cobra gets like hella pissed off. And when he sees this and he's like, why are you running around letting people see you? And he starts getting all fucking possessive and weird. So what does Sadie do? She punches him in the nose. Cobra's response to that? To lick the blood off of his own face. All of these people are highly unwell and need therapy badly. Aaron and Sadie tell the group about the prophecy. Xerxes like drops some lore about the prophecies apparently being the result of a long dead species of fae who could control other people. Little hint for the future. Again, it's the end of the fucking book, so if you want to know, stay to the end of the video. It also comes to light that these fae prophecies are spoken in the fae language. So the fact that Sadie can understand them is highly unusual. Only the fae should be able to understand this fae language, but Sadie can understand it. All of that fae shit, prophecies and languages and stuff, totally left up in the air, and we just move on from it with like no resolution in the middle of the book. We go to like, I think the next day or something. I don't know. So next, Jax gets rewarded for winning the second part of the competition. He gets a spa day, for which he tries to take Sadie, but Sadie's doctor is like, no, her chest is still healing. She can't get a massage. That makes absolutely zero fucking sense to me, because she's still allowed to like train and stuff like that, but getting a massage, that's too much. I know, it just, anyway, whatever, it doesn't matter. So Jax and Cobra go and have a spa day. They find out what the third and final competition of the games will be. They all have to seduce a vampire. That's all the information that they're given. That's it. Seduce the vampire. That's all the info that they have. So While Jax and Cobra are out at spa day, Asher and Sadie are meant to be talking strategy for how they're gonna seduce this vampire. How do they talk strategy? Well, Archer gives Sadie a bubble bath and then takes her and Xerxes to get pedicures and manicures and facials. That's what happens. And then they never talk strategy ever again. Just Mary and Joseph. Anyway, after the day of pampering for literally everybody, Sadie and Aaron have like they spend the evening together, and Aaron gives Sadie this enchanted ring, much like she uses to turn herself into a guy, which there's some complicated things going on with that whole plot line, which I just won't be getting into. But anyway. The ring takes away all of Sadie's scars. She has like totally smooth skin. And yeah, that's I don't know how relevant that is to the storyline, but it's something that happens. After this day of pampering, they go right back to training and are running, because I guess that's the best form of training, which it's literally like none of these competitions have really been about stamina, which is what running is about. They're like they don't practice fighting or anything like that, really, like maybe once, but whatever. While running during training, Xerxes and Sadie are together, and all of the alphas are talking to Dimitri, like a few feet, whatever, 100 feet ahead of them. Again, because Sadie sucks at running, and Xerxes, who has a little bit of a crush on her now, is like staying by her side. While they're running, Xerxes asks her, like, how did you get those battle scars? Like, what battle were you in to get those kind of scars? And Sadie tells him, like, well, those aren't from a battle. They're from a belt. I used to work in a tavern for a dick named Dick. And we don't get, like, the POV of Xerxes reacting to this information, I don't think. But surely it begins to change the way that he looks at Sadie as an alpha, because he has somebody else to relate to with his trauma, which, to be honest with you, he could also relate to Cobra, but just everybody's just obsessed with Sadie because, I don't know, that's what smut is about, just everybody being obsessed with the one chick. It's fine. So the alphas, Jax, Asher, and Cobra, were talking to Dimitri about this party. These books are so incredibly formulaic. It's like it's like getting to know the characters, fighting, a party, the end of the book. Prepare yourself, because pretty much all 6 books are exactly that formula. And you know, it works. So I kept reading all 6 books. Anyway, they go to the party. Everybody's all dressed up. Sadie's looking hot. Aaron's looking hot. Everybody's hot, because regular people don't end up in smut books. Regular looking people just aren't a part of the smut equation, apparently. They're all hot as fuck. Sadie and Aaron are dancing and drinking and dancing and having a good time. Dimitri and his little gang of half warriors, so the 2 tigers, who I think have names, but whatever, they're not important enough for me to remember. They come up to Aaron and start fucking shit talking her. We're not really given any context, but like Sadie's pissed off, but not pissed off enough to like tell all of them to go fuck off. In fact, she starts dancing with one of the tiger alphas. So not Dimitri, one of the other 2. Her alphas see that Sadie and Tiger Boy are dancing, and as soon as they separate, they grab Tiger Boy, take him out into the hallway, and beat the shit out of him for dancing with Sadie. Like, violently beat the shit out of him, and then leave him all bloody in the hallway to go find Sadie. Oh, right. And where is Sadie? Oh, she's at a sex club, of course, because where else would the repressed virgin alpha be? So our girl Sadie and our other girl Erin decide that virginity just isn't the vibe anymore, so they go to a fae sex clinic. And while they're there, they're like filling out the, I don't know, info about all their kinks, and they both just check every single box just to get through it. They're like, yep. And they are both taken to like separate rooms to wait for their partners. So Sadie, while waiting for her partner/partners to come in, the receptionist who helped them fill out all of this paperwork brings in like this blindfold / like hood for Sadie to put over her head and eyes so she can't see or smell, and so sounds are distorted, so she doesn't know who she's in the room with.
No!
I cannot tell you the level of anxiety that caused within me. But it's fine. It's fine. Everything ends up totally fine. I hate this so much. So Sadie, wearing her blindfold, so she can't really see, like hearing is distorted, she can't smell things. Her partner comes in and using a toy, they edge her like half a dozen times. And again, this is while she's blindfolded, she doesn't know who's touching her. And after so many times, she like kind of breaks and asks them to stop. When the blindfold / hood or whatever finally comes off, Sadie sees that she is in a room with her alphas, and Jax has been the one holding the toy, messing with her, and oh yeah, Xerxes is there just like watching all of it. Book, man, this book. They have this conversation, Sadie and the men in the room, they have this conversation that's basically along the lines of the alphas going, "You're ours, nobody gets to touch you but us." Sadie, fuck off, I never agreed to that. Cobra, well, I've branded you with one of my shadow snakes, so what's done is done. What? It turns out that our little shadow snake friend that's been on Sadie since book 1 has embedded itself into her skin via jewels, much like Cobra's, but hers is on her back, basically like tramp stamp, like right above her booty crack. And Cobra has known that it's there the whole time. Not only that, but he can feel her emotions and knows where she is at all times because his snake is attached to her. I don't think these people understand privacy or like, boundaries, but whatever, that's what's been going on. That's like Cobra and the little snake is how they knew where to find Sadie, how they ended up at this sex clinic where she was without them. So yeah. The biggest revelation that comes out of this whole thing is that Cobra doesn't have a shifted form. His little jewels are his snakes. They're with him all the time. Also, Sadie tells everybody about the numb. just like slips it in there after Cobra's revelation. So Sadie and her ragtag team all leave together because I guess Sadie isn't horrifically pissed off at them for what they did to her in this sex clinic thing. And as they're leaving, the receptionist tells Sadie that the half warriors went and pulled Aaron out of her room per the Fae Queen's instructions. So we do not yet know what has happened with her, but the Fae Queen knows where she was and what she was trying to do. So nothing fucking good. After all of this, it is time for the third and final competition, game, round. I don't fucking know. It's the last one. It's the end. And it's the seducing a vampire, which, by the way, we haven't seen them strategize at all. They found out about it and then did nothing with that information for seemingly like a week or more. So today is the day. They're seducing a vampire, and that's what happens. Okay, so Sadie walks out into the arena, and up in the stands, she sees Aaron there standing next to her mother like normal, except Aaron is now like covered in bruises, has 2 black eyes, has bruises like over her neck and chest and arms, and we are to take that it means her mother did this to her as a repercussion of her trying to lose her virginity in the sex clinic. I really don't like the focus of conversations around virginity in this series, but I don't know, maybe I need to do a video at the end of the series talking about all the fucked up shit that's just like not okay. A different video for a different time. So Sadie sees Aaron and is absolutely pissed off. But before she can even try to do anything to like help Erin or like get to her in any way, the vampire, Lothair, comes out and starts testing their blood by drinking from them. The queen says that he runs this academy and he's looking for something called the elite. We don't really go into a description or like any understanding of what the elite are, but he is testing everybody by drinking from them. Sadie's group, of course, is the first group to be tested by Lothair. In a matter of like a couple of minutes, he takes down Jax, Asher, and Cobra, drinks from all of them to the point that they're like on the ground, unconscious, unable to move. And he determines that none of them are what he's looking for, these like elite. Sadie, as he's like walking over to her, she clicks on the numb and just trying to think of a way to like take him down and like save her alphas, who aren't dead, by the way. They've just had like a lot of their blood drained, so they're like knocked the fuck out. So Sadie decides to try and use her snake to bite him and maybe protect herself, but she's not fast enough. And Lothair like pounces on her and like drinks her blood. He like starts to drink her blood, but he hasn't drained her yet. And he pulls away and says, and asks her, he's like, "Why do you taste like the song of the hunt?" Which, if you remember, is the phrase that Dimitri used, who Dimitri is the half warrior. That's the phrase that he used to describe what happened with him and why he started attacking Sadie during the first competition. So Sadie starts putting the puzzle pieces together, and just as she manages to get her little snake friend to like jump on Lothair, Xerxes, from the sidelines of the arena, throws both of his knives into Lothair's forehead. This does not stop or deter him, like, at all. He rips the knives out of his forehead. As he's doing that, the numb in Sadie's head says, "I am the song of the hunt." Dun, dun, dun. Lothair, who has now been attacked by Xerxes and Sadie's little snake, is like fucking pissed off. And he is not affected by the swords in his forehead or the little snake bites. And he rips Sadie's throat out. Like, because he's pissed. The men in this book and their inability to handle emotions. So yes, Sadie on the ground with her throat ripped out is like putting the puzzle pieces together and remembers that Dimitri, the half warrior, talked about this song of the hunt, and somehow Sadie puts it together that that's exactly what she is. She is a half being. She is part alpha and part fae. What kind of fae is she exactly? Well, you remember that secret group of fae who aren't around anymore that Xerxes talked about? Well, those are the blood fae who were eradicated because of the power that they had. Their power was the ability to control people with their blood. So Sadie uses this power that she's never used before, by the way. Nobody has told her how to control it. She just like instinctively knows to send her blood to everybody in the vicinity. Cobra, the queen's guards, and because of that is able to control them. So the queen kind of feels Sadie like trying to take her over, and she loses it. She's like, "You can't kill me, I have collateral." And so these guards bring out Jax's sisters and Sadie's sister, Lucinda, and also Dick, who nobody cares about. And there's like guards like holding knives or something, I don't know, swords or something, to everybody's throat. Basically meaning, if Sadie doesn't let the queen go, all of these young women are going to die. Sadie, absolutely fucking pissed about this, Sadie uses this power of control over the queen to remove the shackles that bind Cobra. Now, mind you, Cobra still passed the fuck out, like unable to move, but Sadie is still able to use her power to control Cobra's snakes, forcing those snakes to take out the guards that are like holding the girls hostage. And then Sadie sees Aaron turn on her mother. Aaron shoves her hand into her mother's chest, rips out her heart, and starts eating it. Which, if you remember from earlier, Xerxes said that the only way to take down the Fae monarchy was to rip out her heart and eat it, and the person who did so would ascend to the throne. So Erin is now the Fae queen because she killed her mother and ate her heart. The therapy this woman is going to need. Just, oh my god. So the entire arena kneels down and bows down to Aaron, accepting her as the Fae Queen. And Sadie, seeing this, passes out. Just after every single competition, she just passes out. Sadie passes out a lot. It's just, I feel like the author just doesn't know how to get from one scene to the other, so just have Sadie pass the fuck out. Anyway, Sadie wakes up, and her ragtag little team of 4 alphas, a Fae Queen, an Omega, and 5 to 6 children are fleeing the Fae realm. Erin is back in hiding in her man disguise yet again as they're all leaving. And where do they flee to? Well, Xerxes' mansion in the beast realm. Of course, because of course he has a fucking mansion. Apparently there's a form of customs when transferring between the realms, so they all get to the beast realm and are walking through this machine that I guess identifies what sort of creature, beast, whatever, what have you, they are. So the guards there are what kind of beast are you? How old are you? And how many shifted forms do you have? And so everybody gets through, even Sadie, even though she lies about just being an alpha. She's like, hey, I'm just an alpha. She doesn't mention the creepy blood fae thing. Everybody gets through, no problem, except for Cobra. When Cobra walks through the machine, an alarm starts going off. And the guards are like, whoa, 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 who are you? How many shifted forms do you have? How old are you? So Cobra tells them, I have one form. It's this form. I'm an alpha who's a snake, and I'm 150 years old. Right? No, I'm 50 years old. I'm 150 years old? I think he's 50 years old. It doesn't fucking matter. The guards, after hearing this information, both fall to their knees and bow down to Cobra. Because apparently, Cobra is the long-lost son of the Serpent King's ruler, the Dawn. And that's the end of book 2. I wish I was kidding. I wish I was being dramatic. That's literally the end of the book. That's it. Okay, bye. That's quite literally the end of the book. That's how it ends. Thanks so much for watching. I wish I had something else to end this video with, but that's literally it. That's how the second book ends. We do, at the end of the book, get a sneak peek at the first chapter of the third book, but I'm not going to get into that with you guys. That's just how the book ends. So our whole ragtag team of 10 or 11 people at this point are now in the beast realm, having fled the Fae realm after killing the Fae Queen. Erin is now the Fae Queen, but she has refused to stay in the Fae realm and accept her role as the monarchy. So yeah, that's it. That's book 2. I wish I had something else for you guys, but that's literally it. That's all. That's all that happens. Thank you so much for watching. If you want me to recap book 3, please let me know. Go ahead and press some buttons down below if you're into that kind of thing. If not, I'll see you in the next one.